Hey, this is Brooke, functional medicine dietitian specializing in fertility, and this is the Fertility Dietitian podcast, where I help you uncover the barriers that are preventing you from optimizing your fertility and teach you how to work with your body to finally take home a healthy baby. Each week, I will be diving into different topics on fertility and sharing my perspective on physiology, metabolic health, nutrition, and lifestyle approaches that have helped hundreds of couples get pregnant even after years of heartache. My goal is to empower you with the knowledge you need to take back control of your fertility. Happy listening. So excited to be chatting with Lisa today. She is one of my program grads who is currently 20 weeks pregnant. So we are going to learn all about her experience in the Master Your Fertility program today and her experience just being pregnant so far. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
So I'd love to start by just having you take us back to the beginning. When you and your husband first started talking about trying for a baby, what were you expecting that journey to look like?
I was not expecting it to be 4 years without a baby. That's for sure. When we got married, we both wanted to have kids right away. So we were hoping to get pregnant on our honeymoon, which did not happen. And then years have passed and it still hadn't happened. So expectations were very, very different from reality. We started, I think we gave it a while to just kind of try naturally and nothing worked. Did some testing. And then we started going to a fertility clinic and they also did more testing and basically said my husband's sperm had like low motility, low morphology, and high DNA fragmentation. And so the answer was IVF, which I want to tell everybody out there that when you go into a fertility clinic, they're most likely going to tell you to do IVF because that's what they do. So they're probably not going to try to help you in other ways. And it works for a lot of people. I mean, I'm not against it. It's just, I feel like that mindset I didn't have. I thought I was going in somewhere where they were trying to help me solve my issue versus they were just like, there's only one solution to this. And it's like, pay thousands of dollars to do this procedure. So that was kind of a surprise to me. And that was just being new to this whole fertility industry, which now obviously like it's pretty common. People know that, but going into it, I had no idea. And we did one round. We did an egg retrieval, which was unsuccessful. I mean, they retrieved some eggs, so that was successful, but we didn't end up with any viable embryos. And then we did further testing, and they basically told us it's because of my husband's issues. Even if we had conceived naturally, basically it would have resulted in a miscarriage and we would not be able to conceive naturally, which, spoiler alert, it worked. Only after working with Brooke, but it worked naturally just fine. But yeah, that was kind of not what you want to hear. And the answer was to do more IVF and more egg retrievals. But we took some time off to we took some supplements and tried to eat healthier and all those kinds of things. We didn't get too much guidance from our doctor on that, but a few things. And then we were about to do a second egg retrieval. And that's when my friend had just gotten pregnant working with Brooke. And she was like, just try it, please. Like, just what's another 3 months? I mean, at that point, we had waited 3 years. Like, is it really a big deal to just give it a try? Like, it's really not in the grand scheme of things. So instead of doing the egg retrieval, we started working with Brooke, and the rest is history.
That's all. You've made a couple of really good points there that you were initially thinking that you're going to a fertility clinic to learn more about what you could do to get pregnant on your own, and often not the case. Were you given any sort of kind of insight or investigation prior to the recommendation to give or to do IVF?
No, and I know some people do some other things first. We actually were told to jump straight into IVF because of the results. They said you can try IUI, but it seemed like it would have been not, when you have high DNA fragmentation, then you're doing IUI, it doesn't make sense because the whole point is like you want to do the whole thing. So we did skip over a few steps that they typically do and went straight to IVF, which I thought would give us a result, which it didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. And you ended up getting a lot of eggs retrieved. Is that right?
That's true. Yeah. And that was the other issue. You're right. That I did have a lot of eggs, more than you're supposed to have. And then you have lower quality eggs. So all that combination of everything was not good. And then the way I reacted to the medication, I was basically at the highest dose by the end, which then talking to some other doctors afterwards, maybe was not the best case. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but there was a lot of variables that are involved that you don't know as a normal person without a medical education. So,
Yeah. Thankfully, your friend encouraged you to kind of go a different direction. So you ended up reaching out to me. We had our initial call. What were your feelings when I guess your first impression when you did reach out and have that initial call? Did you feel like it was going to be successful, or just kind of a step in your journey?
this gave me hope. But in my mind, it was like, well, it would be great to conceive naturally. But basically, what we were told at that point, I don't know if that's viable. And I was like, worst case will be better positioned for IVF, because IVF is a huge expense. And just doing it over and over and hoping for different results didn't seem like the right thing to do. And so it did give me a lot of hope. I wasn't sure if like this would actually result in me just getting pregnant naturally, but I thought if we can be more prepared, that's good. And I had already started like replacing products in the house and stuff. And it is my friend that recommended me. So I had already been talking to her and we've been making some changes, but I knew that there was definitely a diet piece that we hadn't done in terms of, and the like analyses and what we need for both myself and my husband, which I thought would be so good, that we each get like individual attention instead of just like generic things like take CoQ10, like something generic that doesn't really mean that much.
Yeah, definitely. That is a big part of what we do in the Master Your Fertility program. For those of you listening, is that we work with a couple. Both partners in the couple are seen as individuals, and we deep dive for testing. And foundationally, what I'm looking for, probably the easiest way to explain it, is how your body's creating energy. Is it doing it efficiently? Is that energy going somewhere else that we, need to learn about? For reproduction, for both the male and the female, is extremely energy intensive. If energy in the body is going to a different area to support, say, inflammation or imbalance of whatever might be going on, it's taking energy away from egg quality and sperm quality and just reproductive environment as a whole. We need that energy pouring into reproduction to help the body feel safe enough to grow an entire human. That's a big, big deal. So stripping things back, for Lisa and her husband, Jonathan, we looked at mineral status and gut health and did deep dive blood work for them that uncovered some barriers. What would you say, Lisa, was the most kind of maybe eye-opening information, I guess, you got from the testing that we did?
And that's the one thing actually that now reminds me like how I was feeling and why we decided to work with you was we knew there would be data to look at, which is just exciting, and you can see and and it's on paper. And obviously you can interpret it for us. And that was huge for us because we're both very data-driven people. And so it's so hard to just like say something that's just very generic, like what people tell you, like, oh, it'll happen, or just stop trying and all those things. And you're like, yeah, that's cool. That's not going to work. But yeah, so I think the most eye-opening was we both had parasites, which still freaks me out to this day. That was just not what you want to hear, which we dealt with. And now I'm still like very conscious every time I eat raw fish. So that was the biggest one. And the depth and the detail is just, you cannot compare to anything. And we had done, actually what I left out early in our journey is we had gone abroad and also had done some analyses in Europe. But it was also like OBGYN and fertility clinics that did some more in-depth testing. So we at least got a little bit more data, but nothing was as close to as what we have with you. Like, it's just being able to see like the minerals and all these things and how they all work together is so eye-opening. And now you know what you actually have to work on. And then seeing that combined with like the meal plan, and you were able to like talk us through everything of, you know, this is why you need to eat this. This is why you need to eat this. And it just made so much sense that then the next time you're eating it, it's like, as much as I don't want to eat sardines ever, like, you know why you're doing it. So it makes way more sense. And it's like, logically, that's what really worked for both of us. And we were able to actually do it and stick to the meal plan.
That's a really good point. I think having that data makes such a big difference in I don't want to say like the willingness, but the motivation you have to continue making certain choices consistently, because it does take time, right? It takes time to see significant changes in mineral status, which is then going to impact the egg quality and the sperm quality. When we're talking about like sperm DNA fragmentation, like it absolutely takes time to turn that around. And we did updated semen analyses that included the DNA fragmentation and morphology pieces, which we were working on Jonathan's side. And having that is helpful, but having the mineral data and the gut data in addition to that information helps us learn more about the body and how to help decrease that damage that's happening to the DNA. So it's always helpful, I would say, to get the really comprehensive fertility-specific testing. But then what do you do with that? Like Lisa has been mentioning, like the general recommendations can only take you so far, and they're only going to get you the shifts in things like morphology and DNA fragmentation. In general, it's not going to have as significant as an impact as learning more about your individual body and being able to take more specific actions. And something else that I am here like helping my clients do is adapt it to their lifestyle too. So there's always that factor. Like there's traveling that was happening a lot on Jonathan's side. And so like, how can we actually make it realistic? What do we need to focus on the most in order to see changes that are going to provide the outcomes that you're looking for, which in this case is pregnancy. And my hope, of course, was always to help them avoid reproductive intervention. So going back to IVF or fertility medications. So that is always like on my mind as far as like, what can we do to make sure that their bodies are prepped and ready for the outcome, the optimal outcome for sure. So the data is definitely helpful. I personally think that HTMA should be done in a regular annual physical for everybody, whether we're looking at fertility or not, because it is that big of a deal for overall health. And for those of you that haven't heard about what an HTMA is, it's a hair tissue mineral analysis test. And we take a sample of hair from your head, and from that, we're able to learn about mineral status inside your cells, which is very significant because every single cell in our body requires minerals to create energy and to do things like support thyroid conversion and support blood sugar metabolism, support DNA fragment or DNA programming, which is a big part of decreasing the DNA fragmentation side that we can see in sperm, but that can happen in egg follicle development too. We just don't have a test for seeing that. But essentially we're supporting egg quality and decreasing DNA fragmentation with mineral balance. It's a big driver of so many pieces of fertility and overall health, for sure. Do you feel like the changes that we chatted about or that I was recommending based on the testing were, or do you feel like they were doable and something that you could like integrate into your life fairly easily?
No, they were actually very doable. And there was different ways. Like there was a whole meal plan where you can just follow like every day, or you can we have more generic, like, hey, like for my husband was like, eat 6 cups of vegetables. For me, it was something else. Like, and so you have more generic guidelines, which we followed more those. We tried some of the meals in the meal plan, but we didn't go like day by day and eat everything that was listed for that day. And we just kind of adjusted it to our lifestyle and made sure like within, each day we're getting in what we're supposed to get in, which was different for both of us. And that's, I think, what made it also so much more achievable. I was always worried. I was like, are we not doing enough? Like every month when you're not pregnant, you're like, what else can I do? But obviously we ended up getting pregnant and we did do enough. It just took some time, like you were saying, like those things take time, but it was way easier to follow. I'm not a big diet person. Like I don't like strict diets. So I was definitely concerned. My husband is much better at following stricter stuff, but I was able to still do it. And it was like fun foods. I mean, it's not, you think, based on what people are saying, it's like, don't eat any sugar ever and don't do this. I mean, there's all these extremes you hear about, and then you're always worried when you are eating something you're not supposed to. But this was like way easier to follow. And there's like smoothie options and solid, like depending on what you want, there's all kinds of options on how to make it happen and get it in. So that was way easier for me than I originally thought it would be, because I thought I would have to be on like a super strict diet, and I'm not good at that.
You guys were you on a different plan not long before starting this program together that was pretty strict, had a lot of rules?
No, we tried different things. I mean, everyone was saying Mediterranean diet. We kind of tried, like we knew we were supposed to eat more fish, but nothing really that stuck. Like I said, for me, I'm not good at that kind of stuff. So it's just not, we didn't do anything that was super, super strict.
Which is good. I'm definitely not a fan of the extremes, and it's certainly not about perfection either. But we can find a good balance that is going to still give you the outcomes that you're looking for. Our body wants to feel safe. It needs to feel safe to support reproduction. So if you're on a plan that feels really rigid and is not enjoyable, your body's listening to that. And unfortunately, it might be doing more harm than good. So it's definitely a good point. For those of you listening, the extremes are typically not helpful for multiple reasons. And nervous system balance is definitely one of them, and feeling safe enough. Do you remember what some of the first changes you started noticing in your body or your cycle were once you started making some changes?
I think the hardest part, it's like we're talking about the diet, but the hardest part was forcing myself to relax more. It was so hard. Like living in constant high stress and then trying to slow down, I think was really, really hard. And that's where I saw also the most benefits, like the baths and going outside first thing, like small things that actually turned into big things in terms of results. So that was, I think, originally really hard, and be like, what do you mean I need to like take a break and relax and not be constantly doing something? And like I started reading way more, and just like, before bedtime, I just like relax and take a break and just like breathe. And that was very new to me, which is sad. But that is what I definitely, even now, like that was the best thing. And now, when you're pregnant, you're not allowed to take like hot baths, which sucks. You can still take baths, but it's not the same. So that's the thing I miss the most, is just like that routine that I had. I'm trying to force myself to get more into like, okay, force yourself to relax, because it requires effort. It's a lot of effort. Like I started doing more yoga and like being more conscious of like how much I actually work out and not overdo it all the time, and take breaks and sit outside. And so that kind of stuff I feel like had a huge impact. And it's also impact that regardless of fertility, it's going to last me for a long time in my life, that I can actually still implement it, still work it. I still read a lot. I still do these things a lot. And it's allowing yourself to actually say, okay, I'm allowed to take a break. I'm allowed to do this. This is actually really good for me, and it has long-term benefits.
Yes, rest can be productive. Absolutely. I think many of us and those listening need to remind themselves of that. And that nervous system piece is so, so important for how our body is creating the energy and where the energy is going to support reproduction. So when we talk about minerals, we can't just add supplements and foods and hope that that mineral balance shifts. We have to work on the nervous system side of things in our environment. Because if we're constantly going, we're depleting minerals and we're not able to catch up and replete those minerals that are going to be so necessary for egg quality and sperm quality and just being able to get pregnant. I mean, even if you have good quality eggs, there's definitely a lot of factors coming into play of getting that BFP too. So it all plays together for sure. Let's see. I mean, you mentioned that you've been carrying on changes that you've made pre-conception into pregnancy, and hoping to continue like making them like longer term lifestyle changes, which is awesome and definitely a big point of the program too. It's not just meant to help you get pregnant, but help you have that healthy pregnancy and really support like long-term health as a whole too. Do you feel like your mindset or the way that you feel about your body has changed throughout this process?
Yeah, I definitely, I mean, I'm, like I said, I'm giving myself more slack and more time to just be and relax and trust the process, which is also hard. Yeah, the big thing, like you were saying, was actually just hit me recently is how much it has helped in my pregnancy. That working with you was always like the goal is to get pregnant, and then you're pregnant and you met your goal, which the goal is to have the healthy baby. But still, it made it so much easier because I'm seeing how many people get pregnant and they just find out and they're freaking out about what products they're using and what they're eating and all these things. And it just was so easy that I didn't have to change anything. Everything was fine. I'm already eating like the nutrients that I need. And I even still now, like this morning, I still go back to our recipes that you sent us and I still make the meals and the foods in there. And like, especially like when the second trimester hit me, I was like, I am dying, starving. Like, what do I do? And the first thing I do is like, go to your recipe book and like, see what I want to eat out of that because I know that it's going to give me the nutrients that I need and it's going to actually fill me up. So that has been so, so huge. And thank you for that, Brooke. Like, I'm so grateful that we have gone through this because it also made me more calm during pregnancy because you spend so much time trying to get pregnant and then you get pregnant and then you start freaking out about being pregnant and having to raise a human being. So it takes a really big stress factor out of it. I'm still stressing about having a baby, but at least I know that I'm nourishing my body and I'm doing the right things to try to have as healthy as a baby as I can. And I have no need to make any huge changes to my lifestyle because I already practiced all of that before I got here.
That can make such a big difference for just peace of mind. And yeah, doing the work ahead of time makes a big difference for sure. So we started working together about a year ago, March 2025, and you ended up getting your first pregnancy test or positive BFP in August, right? So that pregnancy, unfortunately, wasn't early, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about that. Do we learn any information at that time?
Yeah, and I know you had given us like a time frame of when how much you thought we needed to kind of work with you to get pregnant, and it was earlier than the time frame you had given us, and I was like, oh my God. But now I'm like, there's a reason it was too early. Like it wasn't the time. So we were very excited, but it was actually a stressful time in our life. We were moving. So there was a lot going on and we're selling our house, moving to a different state. So it was, who knows in retrospect, but in the end, I think it just wasn't the right time. But we ended up retesting, doing all the tests again, because now it had been a while, and double checking just what we had going on. And everything had improved like drastically. There was obviously still areas for improvement, but it did give me like such a peace of mind, because obviously after miscarriage, you don't feel great about trying to get pregnant and like, when is it ever going to happen? And it was really good to just be able to do that again and keep working with you and keep getting the support and kind of walk through everything. And we got new directions of like what we need to focus on eating, but also we got reassurance that what we have been doing was actually working, which was huge as well, which is kind of what you need after a loss, is just telling you like, hey, you did good. We tried. So that was good. And then we got pregnant, like what? I mean, I know it took us a while to get the testing done because we took a little bit of a break, make sure I could recover from the loss. And then we got pregnant like right away, probably a total like 2-3 months later. It was way quicker than I thought it would be. And also like, unexpected, because I've never expected, because I'm always like, this is never going to happen. But then it did happen. And then of course it's more scared, being scared again for another loss, but then it all worked out. And also going back to having the loss, the first thing I thought it was like, one day at fertility clinic in the beginning told me like, hey, if you get pregnant naturally, like it's going to lead to a loss and it's not going to work out. And the only thing you can do is IVF. And I was like, there you go. Like, that's what we were told. Here we are. And so it was just, it felt like another punch in the gut, but I was glad that we were able to just keep working with you and you were there to support us. And in the end, like it did all work out. And even though I was still scared, I'm still scared, 20 weeks pregnant. I'm still scared every time we have an appointment to check on the baby. And I think that will just be normal until like the baby's born. And then you're worried about that. So like that never ends. I do feel bad. And I want to call that clinic and be like, see, you were wrong. It did work out.
It did work out. Yes, yes. And we tested sperm health again after that loss too. And we had seen a significant improvement in DNA fragmentation, but still a little bit more work to do. So, I mean, that potentially played into the loss, but like Lisa said, like we had all of that testing redone. We tweaked some things on their goals and their plans. A couple of months later, they had another big fat positive pregnancy test. So who knows? So many things play into loss that are often unexplained. But what we do know is that, we have more control than a lot of providers lead us to believe in helping our bodies support pregnancy, and both naturally and through reproductive technology too. I support many couples that are prepping to go back for IVF or IUI also. And we always see better outcomes if we do take a much more individualized approach and help their bodies just support that energy as a whole, like a positive energy going to fertility, supporting that nervous system, helping their bodies feel safe. So it's helpful. It's definitely helpful to have the data. And I know with this second pregnancy, we were able to get some earlier blood work too, just to check in on a few things, which all looked great and normal. But that can make a difference too if there has been a history of loss, because there can be things that we can catch early on. And so if you have a provider that's helping you be mindful of those things, we can also sometimes change the trajectory of a pregnancy too, which is always my plan, to do everything within my knowledge and power to support every step of that fertility journey along the way. And so 20 weeks pregnant, and you recently had your anatomy scan. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything's looking good with baby?
Yeah, everything's good. No issues whatsoever. I was definitely scared going into it again because of everything we've been through. It was like, just like, oh, everything's fine. Like, are you sure? And they did take that time and they did look at everything. And it's very good to hear that I have no issues, no risks. Like, it's crazy. I'm just waiting for something to happen. And then every time I go to the doctor, they're like, you're good. Like, why are you here? Next, moving on. So it's very, very exciting to hear that everything's going well. So, and it's crazy that that's what we get to experience right now after 4 years. It still feels like so surreal. It's insane. I'm just starting to show, so I'm starting to get bigger, and I'm like, wow, I never thought this day would come. It's so, so crazy. But there's hope. I can't believe it. I can't believe I'm on this side of this conversation. It's so, so, so crazy with how many times I've listened to your podcast, and now I get to like be here. It's literally surreal. I can't believe it.
There is so, so much hope. If you could go back and talk to yourself at the beginning of the journey or even in the middle of the journey, what would you tell yourself?
I definitely would want to start working with you way earlier. I mean, it's just like 4 years wasted. They were not wasted. I'm sure it was meant to be, but it would have been much nicer because I could have probably 2 kids by now, but better that than 0 kids. So I'm still happy. And like, I wish I had not gone the IVF route. That's just personally for me, it was a lot on my body. The medication, the shots, the egg retrieval, like I'd never had surgery before. It was just so many firsts, and it felt like it was so much on my body that, like you were saying, like it's hard that you think you're going to have a baby out of this, which I know happens for a lot of people and it works. And I know you take breaks between, you know, the egg retrieval and when you actually do implantation. But for me personally, I wish I had probably hadn't gone that route, and I wish I would rather try the more natural route. It is more natural. So of course it feels more natural, and it makes more sense to me now. But obviously at that time, when you're not aware of these things, then it sounds like, based on what society and what you see online, is like everybody is just doing rounds and rounds on IVF, and that's how people get pregnant these days. I'm just hoping there's somebody listening that hasn't done it yet. You can work with you first and try that route, and you know, you can still do it. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just, personally for me, going back, I would have wished I would have just started working with you instead of gone the IVF route, honestly. I think it would have been better for my body, because it was just weird to do so much medical intervention for no result in the end, basically. But yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot on so many levels to go through reproductive endocrinology. Yeah. I mean, even if it's IUI, honestly, like medicated IUI cycles can be a ton also. But, you know, even if those tools do end up being used on a fertility journey, like this approach makes such a big difference. Your body's more prepared. Your egg quality is better, your sperm quality is better. So it really decreases the amount of retrievals and transfers that you have to do. And we see that time after time in my couples. So like I said, like my goal is always to help you get pregnant without those tools, but there are definitely reasons why couples are leaning that way, whether it is you know, some sort of obstruction or like physical difference that IVF is actually necessary, or age, or maybe they already actually have embryos frozen and they're wanting to use those. Obviously at that point, like we don't have an influence on egg quality or sperm quality, but the environment can definitely make a difference in next steps for that too. But yes, this approach definitely is going to change outcomes no matter how you're trying to conceive. And if you have the ability to take a step back and take the time to learn more about your body, it's not only going to help you on your fertility journey, it's going to help you understand how to work with your body for just your health, and being there for your babies and supporting their health too is always going to make a difference also. What would you say, Lisa, to someone who feels like they've tried everything but still aren't pregnant? Like maybe they feel like they've tried similar programs, or you know, they have done IVF and all the diets. What would you tell them?
I would say I feel you. It sucks. I feel so bad every time I meet somebody. And unfortunately, it's a lot of people you meet these days that are on the same spot as we were for a long time. And there's so much information out there that it's really hard to make an educated decision. And getting guidance from people that you think maybe are, you know, have the right education, but still give you different guidance. Like, so it's tough. I would just say I acknowledge that you're there and it sucks. But I would obviously encourage everybody to start working with Brooke and at least have that initial session, have a discussion. And it never hurts to start. And then you can see maybe it's not for you. That's fine. And I feel like all the changes were made. It's not like they were extreme. Like, they're all worth trying. I think most people go, especially when you compare it to something as intensive as IVF or any medical things where you're, injecting your body with stuff. That compares is so easy to that. I mean, I can tell you for sure it's a lot in the beginning, right? Especially when you're trying to make all the changes at once. It takes time, but none of the changes are that big. Like, there are all these small changes. It just takes time to implement them. And then you have done them. And then you just focus on the diet aspect. And I'm talking about products in your household and stuff that takes time to kind of replace everything. But once you do that, then it's easy. And then you're just focusing on the diet aspect and self-care and all that kind of stuff. And I think that could help anybody, no matter what they're going through or where they are in their journey. And obviously, the earlier you are, the better. That would be good, because I don't want anybody to spend that many years trying. I really wish we didn't, but that's just what sometimes you have to go through. So it is what it is.
You are certainly not alone in that. Unfortunately, most couples are finding me years into their journey, which is so frustrating to me as well. But it's also not too late either to try this approach. Even a lot of times when you feel like you've tried everything and there's nothing else left, and like Lisa said, I offer a free strategy session for that very reason, because I'm not trying to sell you anything that's a gimmicky or anything. We're really trying to learn about your body and help uncover barriers that are getting in the way of how your body's able to support reproduction. My education, but I would say even more so my experience with couples and such diverse cases has really helped me work with all different kinds of clients with different histories, whether you have endometriosis or PCOS or unexplained infertility, male factor. I have a lot of different tools under my belt at this point. It'll be 10 years this year that I've been specifically working with couples for fertility specifically.
Amazing. Congrats.
Thank you. Awesome. Yes. And I love what I do. And I will absolutely tell you if it's not a good fit on that call also. If, I can't help you for whatever reason, or I'd recommend that you try a different avenue or see a different type of provider before we work together. So yes, that call definitely doesn't hurt. Completely no strings attached. Free phone call is all that strategy session is.
What's your success rate, Brooke? My favorite number.
Yeah, I have a 94% success rate for couples having healthy babies. So that's not just getting a positive pregnancy test, which unfortunately a lot of fertility clinics are basing success rates off of, but that's having the healthy baby. And again, that's all different types of cases. About 80% of my couples are unexplained label when they come see me. And I see unexplained as underexplored. So there's a lot more to learn about that.
Yeah, I remember when you said that number, I was like, no way. IVF success rate is so low and it's considered high because it's IVF. I'm really? I don't know. Then here we are. Man, you get to add another person to your success rate.
Yes. So exciting. I feel all of the ups and downs with my couples, and that 6% of couples that hasn't been successful in my programs for a variety of reasons, but I could tell you their cases like the back of my hand, because those that I haven't been able to help keep me up at night. And I continue to learn from those that, or even just taking longer to get to their BFP and that healthy pregnancy, because that's just how I am. I'm trying my best to provide the best information that we have and that we can. But fertility is complex, and I'll be the first to admit, like, I obviously can't guarantee a pregnancy to any couple, but I can guarantee you that I will do my damnedest to help you the best way I know how, to work with your bodies and support fertility the best that we can. So I really, really appreciate you being here, Lisa, and sharing all of this with everybody. If there's one last thing that you wanted to share with a woman or a couple that's on the fence about joining the Master Your Fertility program, do you have any last words of wisdom or advice for them?
I have two more things that I think I forgot to bring up. One, like, that made me think what you were just saying is you were so there for me during, me having the miscarriage. And it was so nice because nobody else was there. I mean, my husband was obviously there and supportive, but we didn't want to announce it like widely because you don't know what you're going through as you're doing it. But immediately I was able to message you and be like, I don't know what's happening. And then you were checking in on me like all the time and helping me through that process. And just having somebody who was actually on your side makes a big difference. Because, I mean, you might have some amazing doctors out there that do that, but most OBGYNs are not going to like check in up with you. They'll just be like, come in for not like when I called my OBGYN, he was like, come in for an ultrasound like next week. We'll know for sure. That's all you get. It's like, yeah, wait a week. We'll see what happens. So it's like, meanwhile, I'm like freaking out. So it was really nice. And thank you, Brooke. I really appreciate you being there because it was obviously a really hard time for us. And it was our first. We didn't know what we're doing. We didn't know what's happening. And I didn't know how to deal with it. Like, I had horrible cramps and like, what do I do? So all that stuff it was so helpful to have you there. Like you said, like, you're really there for each couple and you know the case and you know what they're doing and what they're going through. I really appreciated that. So that's a huge plus, which obviously I don't wish miscarriages on anybody, but if you are going through something hard, it's just nice to have like a real person that cares about you on your side and who also understands what it's like, what it means and how to deal with it. That was one thing. And then the other thing is that originally, I forgot to mention, like, all the doctors we went to basically said, my husband was overweight. And so they said he just needs to lose weight. And that was the answer, which I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are being told, like, your answer is to lose weight. And there's all these kinds of things you can do, which the hardest thing about that for us was, like, if you think about weight loss, it puts a lot of stress on your body, especially when you're trying to do it really fast. It would be like doing something really extreme. So how can that possibly cause like a healthy baby? And that was the hardest thing for us to understand when everybody we went to, which is several different doctors, all said the same thing. And that would like solve all our issues. And in the end, like, he didn't lose any weight, but he got way healthier and we got pregnant. So because I have met a few people that say that, and I always want to give them like my whole spiel. Like, just, because somebody is telling you like weight loss is the answer, doesn't mean, and maybe it is, I don't know. For some people, I'm sure that has helped. And I know there's people that has helped for, but there's also other factors. And it's just also how you lose the weight and what you do about it and what you eat and how you work out and all these things that just saying somebody some generic phrase like doesn't really help at all. And then all of a sudden, work with Brooke, and here we are. Like, how did that happen? We did make a lot of changes, of course, but it was way better to have actual guidance, detailed guidance, than somebody saying some generic phrases. So those are my two things I wanted to mention. But I mean, generally speaking, please work with Brooke. I really recommend it. And the earlier you're in your journey, the better, just because so you don't have to wait as long. And hopefully that helps some people. And if you're even hesitating, nothing hurts about taking that first call. And then you can still make a decision if it's not for you. So,
well, I am honored to have been and continue to be part of your support team. I'm super excited for you guys to continue experiencing pregnancy and hold that sweet baby soon. Well, you're halfway. So in the coming months. So if anybody has any questions about Lisa's journey or just about working with me, don't hesitate to reach out. I really appreciate you being here, Lisa, and sharing all of this with everybody. I know it's going to be helpful for so many. Otherwise, thank you for tuning in to the Fertility Dietitian podcast, and we hope to see you next week. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Fertility Dietitian podcast. If you enjoyed it, please leave a review to let me know what topics you want more of or less of. If you want to keep learning, subscribe at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out my website for more info on my private coaching program, Master Your Fertility, or my membership community, Fertility Blueprint. And don't forget my digital store. Come say hi on YouTube and Instagram. See you in the next episode.